time. But we've never let it off the chain. You've never let that dog off the chain to just lay waste to other countries. You've always shown restraint for the United States in the last 50 years. You've never just let them go all out to completely annihilate everybody else. With that being said, other countries also have a say in how these situations happen and the results. And Iran is not going to lay down. We talked about that the day that everything started with the original bombings. There are dead enders. There are people that are in here for a different reason. There are people that have different points of view. They have different way of life. And there will be people that will never capitulate because for them, it's more than a country. It's an ideologue. It's a theocracy. There's a lot. So for everybody to expect, the United States just goes out there, boom, 10 seconds, this is over. Sorry, the other side has a say-so as well. And I think a lot of people have just assumed because the United States military is so powerful that if you went up against somebody that had a different reason to continue the fight on a different plane, that we should just walk in and roll over everybody. It's not that easy. We make it look easy, but in reality, it's not that easy. And right now, the Trump administration has three options. And you could talk about why we got into this all you want, but right now, where you are, there's three options. Going back is Monday morning quarterback. You need to finish this thing off because our men and women are in harm's way. You can walk away from the whole thing. Iran gets to keep their nuclear ambitions. They get to keep the Strait of Hormuz, and they get more powerful because the United States wasn't able to finish the mission. That's one thing you could do. Number two, you can let the dog off the leash and have boots on the ground and walk in there, and you would probably have this thing over in a week if we let the dog off the chain conventionally. But right now in America, the word boots on the ground has become a dirty word. We have a whole generation of military fighters that went to the Middle East. For whatever reason, the United States gave all of that back. A lot of them are still upset about what happened at Abbey Gate, and rightfully so. And a lot of people are saying, we just don't want to have another endless war. We've been co-opted by folks that talk about endless wars and boots on the ground, and it's really kept the American people from saying, let's go in there and finish this thing. It's actually degraded our ability to fight because other countries know we are now so hesitant for putting boots in the ground because of the public backlash against these wars that we've had in the Middle East, that now the United States military is not going at full capability, and people will not say, let's go there and finish this thing. And if you did, half the country would just jump up and down and scream and yell to high heaven. So that's not another option for the president right now. So the third option is crushing them economically, and that's what we're going to do right now. That's where you bring Scott Bessent in, who Scott Bessent is really good at what he does. He's probably the most capable member of the administration. And now they've given it to him, but he said something that I want you to pay attention to. He said, we will force regime change. Now, everybody else said they want to see the fall of the Ayatollahs and the Mullah. Everybody else has talked about it except for the president. He hasn't put that out there as one of the goals of this was to have regime change. If it happens to happen, it's a byproduct of everything that's gone on, great. Let's watch it happen. But it was never necessarily to have regime change in Iran. And one of the reasons why is this whole thing started because of regime change that goes back to the Brits and pre-Iranian Revolution. This all goes back to the oil companies, the Brits, the CIA installing and overthrowing governments in the Middle East. And the Iranians are very, very cognizant of the fact that their government was overthrown by the Brits. And the Shah was installed and then reinstalled with the help of the Brits and the Americans. So we've never said anything about regime change because that is really at the heart of the matter of a lot of what we're seeing in the Middle East with Iran right now. But Scott Bessent has got to the point, he goes, you know what, economically, We will bring them to their knees, and we will see regime change. That's a big escalation. And the mullahs and the Iranians and the IRGC better pay attention to that, because they've messed around and they're about to find out. As Scott Bessent says, listen, either you're with us or against us. Another thing that we haven't reported, I've seen it, but I couldn't confirm the sources. But now you can, because CNN's reporting, Axios is reporting it. If you want to talk about who controls the Strait of Hormuz and who controls the flow of oil through there, the U.S. has been running at night ships through there. Every night the U.S. is escorting, and you're getting oil out of the Middle East, which means that entire Strait of Hormuz being blocked off by Iran is becoming less and less powerful of a weapon for them. Now you have Scott Bessent, and he says, I'm going to come get you economically. You've got the blockade. Now, I think we need to start talking about what happens next, because eventually the Iranians will collapse. They will not be able to control the Houthis through money. They will not be able to give money to Hamas. They will not be able to give money to any of their terror proxies. What happens to those terror proxies when the money dries up and they're not being funded by the Iranians, the mullahs, and the IRGC? Do they just disband and go away? No. Something else will fill that void. So let's say Hamas goes away tomorrow. Does that mean, everything's going to be peachy keen? No, because there'll be a void and someone will fill it, and we don't know who. Same with the Houthis. Same with Hezbollah. Now, the big question is, what happens in Iran? If the Iranian regime collapses, you don't have boots on the ground, and you don't have Americans in there helping rebuild whatever you're going to see. Next in Iran, after Scott Bessent completely decimates that country that has like 700% inflation, I believe is one of the reports I saw. And the people are not able to find jobs, especially young people. Unemployment is through the roof.
1 minute.
If that's just what you're doing now, and now you're actually going to have surgical attempts to completely collapse their economy with Scott Bessent at the helm, what happens when all of that collapses? Somebody will fill that void. Will it be someone pro-West, anti-West? Will it get better, get worse? And that's the next thing I think people need to keep an eye on. We're not going to go in there and invade. We're not going to send more people in there. We're not going to have boots on the ground. This is what the president has decided to do. We have three options: walk away, have a full-scale invasion, or crush them economically. He's opting for the third option. And this is the one that's going to be interesting, because you will not have Americans actually in control on the ground when that happens. Who ends up filling the void? Would the Russians come in and fill the void? Will the Chinese come and fill the void? Will the rest of the Arab states come in and fill the void? It's a question nobody else is asking right now, but it's something I think we should all be keeping an eye on. Number for you to join us, 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. This is going to be like a boa constrictor. It is going to take a little bit of time, but once Scott Bessent starts squeezing off more and more of that economy, they are going to be gasping for air. You will see more of them. You'll see more of these attacks on the fellow Arab Gulf states. You might see these terror proxies in their death throes be more aggressive, but eventually the boa constrictor is going to choke them out. But what happens next? Something I hope they start talking about on the Sunday shows and with the administration. Get your thoughts on this at 6:46 this morning, 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. Again, News Radio WRVA on Facebook. Dave and I are starting a post-game show. Yesterday was National Radio Day. Dave, what did you think of our post-game show?
I thought it went well.
I think so. We're going to do another one today?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the enthusiasm we're all looking for.
I don't have anything else to do except wait for a newer refrigerator anyway.
All right, we'll do a post-game show on Facebook after the program as well. All right, today's program brought to you apart by Pearson Signature Dealerships. Only at Pearson can you walk in with the peace of mind knowing the vehicle that I'm